guys, Booher here, and I am so excited to bring you a brand new series that I am doing called Breaking the Binge. And in each of these videos, I'm going to be describing something to you that I've experienced in my own personal life when it comes to the deprive and then binge and then deprive and then binge cycle. I found that after I released my last video about why I quit bikini prep, which I will link somewhere down below or up here, whatever, I found that I got such an overwhelming response from women just like me who have been through the same kind of mindset, habits, and patterns that are a bit obsessive and disordered when it comes to food, the same things that I've been through. So I figured I would make a video series in order to help you guys. These are going to be nice and short. Hopefully, I like to talk, so they might be a little bit longer, but the whole purpose here is to either help you if you are going through the deprive binge cycle, or if you are not, but you have kind of disordered eating tendencies, or you know somebody who does, maybe it'll help you understand a little bit better. So in today's video, I want to go over the difference between overeating and binging and what goes on in your mind between somebody who is just overeating, like on Thanksgiving or some other holiday or occasion, and somebody who is a binge eater. Now, I will preface this by saying that I am not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I am not clinically treated to diagnose you with having any type of eating disorder, but I'm just sharing my experiences and things that I've been through and women that I've worked with, some of my nutrition coaching clients who have experienced similar things. Sometimes when you have an eating disorder or disordered eating tendencies, it's kind of hard to differentiate the difference between overeating and binging. So somebody who's overeating could be described as on Thanksgiving. Everybody eats a lot on Thanksgiving. You have turkey and rolls and stuffing, and you just have that really bloated feeling, but it's normal. You know, everybody does it on Thanksgiving. Or another example would be when you're in college and you spend the night drinking and then you come home, you eat a bag of chips, you eat 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 slices of pizza, you eat everything in your kitchen just because you have the drunchies, the drunk munchies. So those could be classified as overeating. You might wake up the next day and feel a little bit sluggish and bloated, but it's not anything that destroys your self-confidence or makes you feel shameful or guilty. You're just kind of like, I don't feel my best. Like maybe I should get up and get moving and go work out today. But you don't spend time dwelling on it or thinking about it. It just kind of happened and then you move on from it. So with somebody on the opposite end of the spectrum, and keep in mind this is a huge spectrum. Some people might have full-out binge eating disorder. Some people might just have disordered eating tendencies. But on the opposite side of the spectrum from somebody who's just overeating and forgets about it is somebody who has disordered eating habits or tendencies, and I think this is primarily classified by the reaction and the way you feel after it. So there's no difference between somebody who's overeating and somebody who's a binge eater in actuality, because both of them are doing the same thing. They're eating a lot of food, okay? But what makes the difference is that the binge eater or somebody who has disordered eating tendencies feels so guilty and shameful and gross and just so many bad qualities about themselves after it's been done. And in order to negate that, they feel guilty, shameful, they wake up, they feel bloated, sluggish, whatever, and unlike the person who's overeating who can just kind of forget about it, they hold on to that for the next day, the next 2 days, the next 3 days. And the people who have the binge eating disorder have a better tendency to the next day want to restrict their calories even more to make up for all the food that they ate. Or like me, I would over-exercise in order to make up for that food. So I never purge, I didn't binge and purge, but what I would do is binge eat. So I would eat a bunch of food at night, and then I would the next day go spend hours and hours and hours at the gym doing cardio and weight training, and just the longer I could spend in the gym, the better. So if you're in this situation where you overindulge, and it's natural to feel a little bit guilty, but what is not natural is to feel the need to go to the gym and spend hours there making up for what you ate, or purging, or just doing anything that's destructive to you, because what that does in the long run is facilitates a worse cycle. That's where the deprived binge cycle comes in, because you binge one night, you feel really guilty, really shameful, really gross about it, and so the next day you restrict. And what happens when you restrict, you're not eating any calories, so naturally when you get your hand on some food, you have a better tendency to binge again. And then you deprive the next day. And then it just keeps going in that cycle over and over and over again until all of a sudden you wake up like 4 months from the road and it's an every night thing. Because that's what happened for me. It started as a maybe like once a week thing, and then it turned into twice a week, and then 3 times a week, and then all of a sudden I was doing it almost every single night, and it seemed like there was no control, no way to stop it. Another characteristic of somebody who is binging rather than somebody who's overeating, I think when you're overeating, like, yes, it makes sense if you're sitting in front of the TV and you're mindlessly snacking to just overeat a little bit. But when I was binging, it was almost like I blacked out. Like, I did not know how much I was eating, what I was eating. If I ate something sweet, like ice cream, then I needed something salty. So I'd eat a lot of ice cream, but that wasn't enough. Even though I knew I was full, I would go and grab something salty, so like a bag of pretzels. And then I'd need something hearty, so I'd have peanut butter. And then it would just like go in that cycle over and over and over again. And so I think that's the difference when you feel like you're blacked out, and then all of a sudden like an hour or two even can go by and you wake up from your binge and you're like, what have I done? What have I done? Oh no. And then that's when the guilt sets in, you feel gross, you promise yourself that you're gonna wake up at 5 a.m. and take that spin class in the morning. I cannot tell you how many times I did that. So if you were interested in knowing the difference between overeating and binging, the biggest difference is the mentality behind it. So the overeater doesn't necessarily beat themselves up. They know they feel kind of gross after eating a bunch of food, but they don't dwell on it. It's done. What's done is done. It's in the past. They just focus on their healthy goals and they move forward. And some people, honestly, a binge for some people is how some people's typical American diet is. So I find that with myself, the reason I was binging or had the idea that I was binging and creating all this guilt and shame around it was because of my need to be perfect. And so if I couldn't stick to this super clean diet, and I would just go all or nothing, like opposite end of the spectrum, just eat a whole pizza instead of just indulging in a little bit of it. But even my binge days were probably not that much different from like when I overate in college or what some people eat on a daily basis. So like I said, it's all about the mentality, the guilt, the shame, all of that that's associated with it. So those were just some of the things that differentiate somebody who is just overeating and somebody who is binging or has disordered eating thoughts or tendencies surrounding the food that they eat. So if you or someone you know has been struggling with binge eating or has disordered eating tendencies and you notice them feeling super guilty or shameful or calling themselves fat or anything after a day of overindulging or feeling like they need to spend hours and hours in the gym to make it up, share this video with them, help them to understand they're not alone, because I went through the same thing. I've worked with so many girls nutrition coaching that have been through the same thing, and the reason that I'm talking about this openly now is because it's an experience that I've taken part of in the past, and I just want to share and help other people to know that they're not alone in this. So this was just the difference between overeating and binging. In my next video, I'm going to give you tips on how to get rid of that guilt and shame when it comes to the binge eating disorder. So if you guys want to chat about any of this or you're going through the same thing, you can schedule a free 15-minute phone consultation with me for nutrition coaching. If you just go to juliebooher.com/free-consult, I'll link it down below. You can sign up for a call and we can chat about all the things together, and hopefully I can help you and provide some insight to get through this, because you are not alone. We're in this together, and I hope my goal here is to help you get through it, help you feel like you have a friend through all of this, because I know how deep and dark that time in my life was. So if I can just be that little light that shines down in your darkness at this time, then I hope this video found you at just the right time, or you can share it with somebody who is struggling with this as well. And yeah, I'll talk to you later. See you in the next one.